right, welcome to Inside Mental Health with Debbie. Today, we have a jam-packed show where we're talking about mental health within the Black community. With us, we have Uplift Black founder and president. Hope you enjoy. Okay, so Shelly, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Debbie.
I want to say thank you for what you're doing within the community. And just bringing awareness to the issues within the Black community. And today we just want to bring awareness to the issue of mental health within the Black community. So I'm so glad that you're here today.
Thank you. I'm by no means an expert, but I do have a lot of lived experiences, and a lot of the work that I do is, and rooted in uplifting wellness, especially within the Black community, and that includes mental health.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, I want to know from you, from your standpoint, why is there a negative stigma surrounding mental health within the community? And maybe by saying, do you think that there is a stigma surrounding mental health?
Absolutely. I remember it was probably, it must have been about 5 or so years now. I was watching a friend on social media talk about a documentary that she was creating called The Blind Stigma. And her name is Stacey Ann Buchanan. And the whole point of the entire documentary was to discuss the stigma in the Black community when it comes to mental illness. As a Black Jamaican woman, she had started to experience signs of anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts. And she reached out to a friend talking about what she was experiencing. Her friend said to her, I think you have anxiety. And one of her first things that she thought to herself was, white girls get that kind of stuff. That's not something that Black girls get. When she talked to her father, he told her to drink some tea and pray. And to sum up what it's like having, suffering from mental illness in the Black community, I mean, that is it to a T, pun intended. So I think that what has happened within the Black community is a need to show strength and show that we are strong when we're faced with adversity. And we have been through so much as a people that, and there's so much discrimination and stigma surrounding just a living Black that it can become very difficult to navigate when you start to kind of show what people might consider a weakness when it comes to being unable to handle your day-to-day activities, struggling with sleeping, struggling with eating, unable to focus, struggling in social situations. And, I think it's really important that we're having this conversation because, as a Black queer woman, I have gone through many different experiences, but battling my mental health has been a pretty significant part of my life and my quality of life. So when Stacey was talking, to go back to that, about mental illness and the stigma, I finally felt seen. And I felt like it was time that I started to use my voice to talk about mental illness as well. I had incredible experiences that have led me to suffer from debilitating anxiety, incredible amounts of depression, suicidal thoughts as well. And it was, it's seeing another Black woman talk about it that made me believe that it was okay to talk about. So I think that it is so important that we have these conversations, that there are people like yourself in the mental health community representing us, because I'm telling you, it is so incredibly important, especially now as we are delving into this Black Lives Matter movement. And there's a lot of, untapped trauma that people are starting to talk about. And when you start talking about it, guess what? Like, that's where the healing starts, right? And there's still so much to unpack to get to a place of really fully being able to live with mental illness, or even be able to just live a healthy, and a healthy life. And when it comes to your mental stability, and the idea too that it may never go away, and that is something that you need to, like, I think a lot of us as people need to unpack, is that you can live with a mental illness. There is, that, and this idea that you'll finally get to a point where it'll just be like, oh, I don't have that issue anymore. I no longer have anxiety. That may not ever come, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how much you pray or how much tea you drink.
Right. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. I actually follow Stacey on social media, so I was a lot of her work, and it's phenomenal. And just as a Black woman who's come out, who's made the blind stigma, who talks about this and say, you know what, look at me, and I suffer with this. I still do, and I want to make awareness of it. So yeah, you're absolutely right. So I'm so glad that you brought her up, because I wonder, what do you think needs to change? Because you talked about, my mom says sometimes, oh, just go and get some rest. You'll be okay.
Yeah.
It needs to change within the community for us to be able to recognize that, this is real.
Absolutely. I mean, I think I also have to, to say that this is, obviously, this is not just a stigma within the Black community. A lot of, people of color have this stigma, and it does stem from finding, there's only ever really one or two spaces that are available in terms of job opportunities, in terms of opportunities in life, and we're usually trying to, fight for an opportunity to be seen and to have a seat at the table, and we don't want to show any weakness. So it's that masking that, or also believing that we can do it all. There's a lot of Black women in particular, single mothers, who will fight that, this idea that they need anybody, they got this handled, they can do it all on their own, and it can really, not having that community and not having that place where you feel safe to discuss, some of the trials and tribulations of being a parent, and feeling, that, it's not always roses and and butterflies, and or navigating when you recognize, issues within your children. So what needs to change? More conversation and more representation in the mental health community, like more therapists, more people, more Black people doing meditation and yoga. See, and when I say that, I don't necessarily mean that we're not doing it. I mean that the visibility is not there. So it's like, how do we get the permission to join a yoga class when we see the billboards and it's always white skinny girls who are doing it, right? Yeah. So we feel out of place, and we don't feel like it's the right place. It's almost as if we feel like it's not okay for us to be well. Like, it's not okay for us to be mentally well, for us to take time to have quiet moments, to have peace, to have silence. And that's something that we have to find within ourselves, and we have to make for ourselves. And it's one of the reasons that my organization, Uplift Black, is creating a calendar called Uplift Black Mental Wellness. And the entire calendar is Black people doing things that make them feel, that give them, joy, and give them peace, and help them with their everyday, exercise and activities. So it's just Black people doing fun things like yoga and and basketball, or anything that makes them feel well, meditating, dancing, all those things that make them feel well. It's to give that representation. It's to show that it's okay to take time for you, that self-care is important, and that it doesn't make you weak.
Right. And you're right, because it's also, when I see somebody who looks like me doing this, I know that it's okay. I can do this too. It's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of resources for people of color, do you think that they are out there? We just need to be able to find them. And how would you go about finding that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's definitely a concern when you go outside the urban centers. like communities like Barrie, Simcoe County, where there isn't as much representation of the BIPOC communities, Black, Indigenous, people of color community here. So it becomes a struggle to find services where the people who are offering those services understand the lived experiences of being racialized, of being marginalized. Add the extra layer of being part of the 2SLGBTQ plus community, having a disability and all those things. Those resources just get smaller and smaller and smaller. So yeah, it is a concern. We have a lack of social services for people of color in our community. And that doesn't mean that we don't have housing, but we don't necessarily have a lot of people in housing who are recognizing the lived experiences and the other issues that might face people of color, new immigrants, people who may not speak the language, so all of those different added layers. I know that one of the comments I've had recently was even within the shelters, women going into the shelters, women of color, Black women, and there isn't any hair care products for Black people. There isn't, there is like simple, like the fact that they've got Pantene in the shower, and that's the only choice. Whereas that's not right for our skin, and even like cooking and options that are available in the kitchen aren't always geared towards different types of ethnic foods that might be more familiar and make somebody feel more like home if they're part of a Black community or a racialized community. So support services both in social services and mental health. We need to see more representation, and sometimes that comes from supporting the community to get involved in that way, right? To find is that how do we get more people to become mental health advocates as well as practitioners in our community? Does that mean mentorship? Does that mean working within those communities to let people know that is a viable career and a possible career for them, and how important it is that they get involved and get out and realize that their contribution to the industry can be really valuable.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Shelley, I also wonder about the differences between Black women or women of color and Black people of color men. Is there a difference in the way they view mental health?
I believe that typically people who are more feminine, and live in that kind of very, feminine lifestyle, whether they consider themselves women, whether they are trans women or whatever, they typically are more susceptible to talking about their feelings, to recognizing the things that are happening in their lives where they may want to reach out to community. Where I find, sorry, my dog, where it's in the community, I find in the Black community, especially with the masculine men, it's you don't talk about what's going on in your life, and it's a sign of weakness, and it's not encouraged. So I think that and asking and seeking help is flighty and makes you to acting like a woman if you seek that kind of help.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, great. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think we're going to take a break here because you said some really awesome things. So I want to take a break here, and after the break, I want you to talk to us about Uplift Black, what you're doing in the community, and how you're making a difference in the communities. If you're okay with that.
Absolutely, I would love to. Thank you. Okay.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
I'm Wendell Clark with a word about winning. We all know it takes a team effort in any sport and with any challenge. You can be a part of the winning team that shuts out impaired driving. Whether you're out on the town or just hanging out with friends, drink responsibly. Always have a plan for a safe ride home for yourself, your family, and your friends. You'll be helping to shut out impaired driving.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober. Through United Way, I did a self-esteem course, training for peer support, and now I volunteer. It's a lesson that comes from the nature of doing work with the United Way that gives me a new lease on my life.
Welcome back to Inside Mental Health. We have the founder and president of Uplift Black, Shelly Skinner, with us today, talking about mental health within the Black community. So, Shelly, I'm wondering if you can tell us about Uplift Black and how you're using your voice and your platform in this organization.
Thank you. Well, Uplift Black was started in a response to George Floyd and what happened, and all the Black Lives Matter rallies that happened in Barrie and right across the globe, really, after George Floyd was killed and murdered, actually. And I'm telling you, I think that what happened is, you know, when people talk about George Floyd and his last dying words, it was him calling out to his mom. It's as if he called out to me, the Black mom, you know. And I felt that call, and I felt like I needed to answer that call, and we needed to start real change, you know. And you know, for me, I felt like, what could I do, you know, to affect global change? I don't know if I could do that, but I knew that I could do something locally, because that's what I'm good at. You know, I'm good at you know, at getting out and having those tough conversations, you know, calling out, you know, discrimination when I see it, and working for a more inclusive and supportive community. So I decided to use the work that I've done in the community and my voice to uplift the Black people that are in our community, who's so who's feeling so without community here for so long. And I think that what's unique about Simcoe County is a lot of the Black community here are mixed race. And a lot of them actually, a lot of the youth and the people who live here don't necessarily come from Black homes. So they may be living with their white parents, their white grandparents. So they're very, very disconnected to their Blackness, yet they still experience anti-Black racism and discrimination. So it's become one of those things where I just felt like I needed to create an inclusive community. And that's what Uplift Black is. It's an opportunity to service and uplift the total well-being of the Black people who live within our community, working towards racial equity, and working towards a conscious community that understands the cultural add of of Black people who live in our country, whether they're new immigrants, whether they were born here, you know, and you know, whether they've been here for generations, as their family has settled here, you know, from the Underground Railroad. So there's so much that I've been learning and growing as I've been part of this journey. But we became a professional not-for-profit as of July 15th. And we're working into doing some incredible things in the community, including partnering with organizations like Edward Park Communities and becoming a referral agency for their furniture bank, so that if we have you know, people in our community who really truly need that extra little support, they can come to us, and we can refer them to the furniture bank as a client of ours. We're also partnered with Urban Pantry. Urban Pantry is provides the good food box to the community. So this is for a low cost. You get produce, local produce and some international produce for a really reasonable price. But they've also have what's called the Pay It Forward program, where the community can buy boxes and then it goes back to community services. Uplift Black is now one of those referral agencies. So we get those boxes, and we in turn give it out to community members who need it. So families can register to receive a good food box. We're doing lots of things for the holidays, including, you know, just taking care of our community in any way that we can, but also looking to the cultural ways that we can service through socialization and getting together in different ways to uplift Black arts, to uplift Black stories. We have a web series right now, which is fantastic. And what this does is allow people who live outside urban centers, Black people who live outside urban centers, to tell their stories of what it's like being Black outside of a big, you know, diverse city like Toronto. So what that experience, what that unique experience is like. It also gives them the opportunity to share their craft, share their passion, as well as create a call for change, what they'd like to see happen in their community to make it more inclusive. Yeah, so we're doing incredible, and then that is just the tip. We're working with youth, we're working with businesses and organizations to mentor them, including Imani's Place, a Black-led transitional home designed for women of color out in Alliston. We're helping with their organizational growth, and we're supporting them on the back end for anything they need, including connecting with funding partners, giving them more of a social presence, uplifting their visibility through our web series as well as our website.
Amazing. Amazing.
Absolutely. So, I mean, we have this whole wellness program that we're creating. The wellness program will include everything from dance, exercise, meditation, yoga, led by Black instructors for the entire community, not just for the Black community, but it's about that visibility about being seen. So our instructors are Black or have Black lived experiences. We also have Uplift Black Hair, which is an entire educational platform that we are creating to help seasoned stylists, new stylists, parents of Black youth and Black people learn how to take care of their hair, learn about ethnic hair, kinky coily curls, afros, how to style, how to lock, and how to make sure that the hairstyling industry is no longer segregated. It's like the last segregated industry, and it seems to be okay for there to be white salons and Black salons. And I would love to see that change. And for if somebody's a stylist, you should be able to never have to turn away anybody from servicing them. It should be an inclusive environment, and it should be a safe environment. So we talk in that platform, we're talking about how to create a safe environment through healthy and safe conversation in the salon. How not to speak to your Black client about their hair, right? So things like that. So an all-in-all inclusive program. So lots on the go, lots happening. We need a lot of support to make it happen.
Awesome. What has the reception been like? How are people receiving Uplift?
Yeah, I think there is a mixed reception. Some people are like, "Oh my God, we've needed this. How come we didn't even realize until it happened how badly we needed it?" And then the other one is this idea that it's not inclusive because we're supporting the Black community, but it's the same as like the Barrie Native Friendship Center or any friendship center or or any LGTB organizations that are servicing those communities. The idea is to offer these people who normally don't have support services, don't have a voice, don't have visibility, don't have community, giving them a space to feel safe, that they can speak about their experiences in a place that they know that they're understood. But also, it is about the community connection. It is about getting out to the community, talking about who we are, what we're, talking about our accomplishments, really showcasing the beauty that is our culture, the beauty that is Blackness. And what it means to be Black can mean so different for so many people. So just also telling those stories of what that means to different people living in the skin.
Awesome. Amazing. I love that you created this, and you're right, it is so deep. And I just want to help promote that as much as possible, because it is.
Well, thank you. You are right by bringing me on the show and giving me this platform to speak about it. Thank you.
Awesome.
And another thing that I think I'll mention, because I don't think I got a chance to mention it, but it's really important because we are doing a Rogers show, and I was, a previous host, community producer with Rogers. I ended, doing that show because of my mental health, because of my anxiety, debilitating anxiety, because of my depression. Getting up in the morning to even just get to a place where I felt that I could give advice, that I could inspire people. It was a very, very difficult time for me. And so to be able to see a show like this, Debbie, with a Black woman who's talking about this, I just want to say, thank you. Thank you for also creating this platform for us, because it is so important. And it's important to see it here locally and not from just somebody in Toronto.
Right. Thank you so much, Ellie. Thank you. And you've got so much wisdom, so I really appreciate you saying thank you. What are your hopes for Uplift Black? Is there more that you want to accomplish? You're accomplishing so much. What else do you want to accomplish?
Well, as much as we're having so much, we're still a very, very small volunteer-run organization. So my hopes is that will be more than that. That will be a full center being that's able to service our community, that's able to provide culture and diversity and the beauty of the Black community to all of Simcoe County, to be able to stretch out to the Muskoka, which does not have any representation out there. We're getting a lot of people who are like, we really need you out there. A lot of the work that we have right now is currently rooted in Innisfil and Barrie, some in Bradford, but it isn't enough. We need to extend our reach throughout all of Simcoe County. I'd also really like to talk about the history of Black in Simcoe County, because I've had the opportunity to learn a little bit from Janie Cooper Wilson, who is a local historian and speaker. And she was the one who helped restore the Oral African Church. She's got incredible wisdom, and she took some time out of her schedule to show me around Simcoe County and tell me the history of what it meant to live in Black, in Simcoe. And I learned so much about how we are rooted here, about our ancestors, about about how much we've contributed to the landscape and to the community itself. Yet it's not showcased in anything that is promoted. When you hear of Barrie, when you hear of Simcoe outside of this community, typically you hear that it's racist, it's closed-minded, and then it's not Black, that Black people aren't here. And it wasn't until I moved here that I recognized that wasn't necessarily true. It's not that we weren't here, it's that we didn't have a voice here.
I want to be able to, I want this community to help support what you're doing, because it's amazing work. Like I said, where can people find more information about Uplift Black?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can follow us on our social media channels. That's so important. And I think that people don't understand why it is important to share the work, because there's so many different things that come into play when not-for-profit organizations are looking for funding and looking for opportunity. And a lot of that is who's being serviced in the community, who's following. A lot of especially as a new organization, it's about sponsorship, because we're not really eligible for a lot of those long-term grants. So we need individual sponsorships, and those sponsorships, those corporations are looking for people. How many followers do you have? Who's engaging? And because they want to support something that they know that people are gonna see. So follow us on Instagram at upliftblack.org. Follow us on Facebook, Uplift Black. We also have a chat group, a support group.
Okay.
That's pretty fantastic. It has over 1,700 members, and it's just a community of people who are talking about Black Lives Matter and that movement, and encouraging and sharing stories.
All right, great. Thank you so much. We will have all that information for everybody to follow.
Yes.
And to make sure that we are all in the know of what's up with Uplift Black. Thank you so much for today, Shelley. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning in. Until next time.